recording. All right. Well, welcome everybody to our Sunday, every other Sunday, Veterans Voices podcast. I don't know what to call it anymore, Al. We do this live on Facebook and then we put the YouTube video on YouTube. Let's call it a hybrid podcast. And this is the 26th of September, and we're heading off to Arizona to go spend a little quality time with our buddy Ricardo. Andre Pereyda, celebrated activist in our Corps. You want to say a couple of things now?
Well, wait a minute. Now, Michael, we need Rico to give us his full name so that we properly identify him on this program. So would you mind, Rico, to give us your full name, please?
Well, my full name is Ricardo Andre Pereyda San Nicolas. So that's my full name, but my name that I go by is Ricardo Pereyda, just to keep it simple.
Well, I think your full name is beautiful. That's why I wanted you to say it. I think it's just a great name. But Rico is in, as we said, is in Arizona with his dogs. You see one right there. What is that, Buttercup? Or is that right? I got that right. And then we're in different places. I'm in the Panhandle of Florida. Michael's in Southern Virginia. And Rico, as we say, is near Tucson. So as always, Michael and I have worked with Rico for years now, especially with an outfit called Veterans Action Council. But we've worked on other issues as well, and we'll talk about that as we go along. But Rico, you kind of know the drill. You've been on this before. We kind of want you to tell all the audience, where you're from and how'd you get in the military and what happened in the military, and then you got out of the military and what happened then. You know the routine. So please take the floor.
Well, I appreciate you guys for having me on here for this podcast / just talk, just talk. Born and raised in Tucson, Arizona, and I spent my time between here, my mom's house in Tucson, and then my grandparents' ranch in Arivaca, which is close to the Mexican border. Anytime I'd get in too much trouble, I'd go down to the ranch, do manual labor with my grandfather, get some talking to, some schooling, mentoring, and stuff like that, and come back over here, get in trouble, go back. I dropped out as a sophomore, went to work full-time doing construction and stuff like that. I didn't have time for school. It was repetitive. I didn't enjoy it. I was always getting in fights. I couldn't not get into a fight walking on campus. So I was like constantly in detention, constantly getting kicked out, expelled. And it was just, it was too much. So I dropped out, was working full time. And when 9/11 happened, I was working as a custom metal fabricator and quit my job that day. Found a recruiter that would work with me in the Navy, but I had to get my GI or my good enough diploma, GED. So I went and I got that tested out, and they told me they needed a high school diploma. So I said, man, what the fuck? I went because I was basically kicked out of every school in Tucson, and I had to go to a school in Green Valley, self-paced alternative high school, Primera Alta, and I got 10 3/4 credits in like a month and a half, something like that, because they had 2 sessions. I was going in the morning, in the evening, just taking homework home, going back, clepping out as soon as I felt ready in the subject matter. And when I brought that back, the certification, the Navy's like, well, we think there's no way you got this in the amount of time you said you did. We think you cheated. We can't accept this. We can't accept you. And so I basically gave them the bird, walked next door to the Army recruiter, explained to them what just went down. They looked at the paperwork, tested me with the ASVAB, walked over to the Navy recruiter, ripped up the contract, signed up with the Army as an MP, and went over to Germany, stationed with the 554 Military Police Company in Stuttgart, Germany. And then from there, I was deployed to OIF-2 in Baghdad, where we did QRF, we did a bunch of convoy patrols, IED sweeps, whatever, friggin' escorts, working with the IPs, working with the engineers to build up schools, hospitals, and stuff like that. whatever they needed, we were doing. Essentially, our op tempo was insane for that year. Got back in 05, came back stateside, and the wheels fell off. I ended up doing a lot of intense therapy, spent some time in the psych ward, got divorced, went through a foreclosure, contemplated suicide, had my shit written out. And then the low point was like I had the gun in my mouth, going from my mouth to my temple, and was just like reading the letters that my wife had written to the VA substantiating my shit, and read what my parents had wrote to the VA substantiating who they were around now as opposed to who left. And I couldn't do it. I ended up throwing the gun across the room and just laying in the fetal position. I don't know how long, just crying. And ended up going to my counselor, explaining to her what had just happened, where I was at. And she knew that I was a reader. I liked school. I had done some stuff in the community college level. So she suggested I check out the University of Arizona program called VETS, which I did. And I went in there and just like immediately felt like I found a home. And had a bunch of friends, had a bunch of stuff that was, I'm sorry, man, I'm feeling kind of emotional at the moment, but just had a life again. And started doing some really awesome things that had nothing to do with cannabis, right? Cannabis was something that helped me get out of bed, something that I had started using in replacement of the pills that the VA had given me. And I knew it worked. It worked for me. And that's all I needed to know. And it was in my medicine cabinet. Nobody needed to know what was in my medicine cabinet. And that's the way it stayed for about 3 years or so on campus. And I mean, I was involved with dozens of community service projects, fucking negotiated an expansion for the vet center that took it from over about 800 square feet to over 3,500 square feet, expanded a permanent memorial on campus to all who put themselves in harm's way. All kinds of PSAs, coordinating panels for suicide prevention and awareness and discussion, action. Working with various administrators, VIPs and whatnot, standing up veteran centers across the country in various universities and community colleges and stuff like that. Actually helped set up the Pat Tillman Center at ASU. The VETS program at the University of Arizona was the first VETS program, a vet center of its kind in the state of Arizona, and we were the first Pat Tillman Foundation partnered institution, which really burns ASU, and I get great pleasure of reminding them when I can. But it was amazing. We were doing amazing work. We were assisting veterans and their family members, dependents, military-connected individuals with access to benefits or who needed support in their transition into academia, and then from academia on into a professional career or higher education. We have plenty of individuals who went on for master's degrees, plenty of individuals who went on and are now getting ready to put forward their shit for their doctorates. And in 2013, I hit a brick wall. I had found out in the spring that a mentor of mine had defrauded the Pat Tillman Foundation for over $30,000. And he had been covered for by the lead psychologist of the Southern Arizona VA healthcare system, as well as a couple other mentors of mine who knew what it is that he had done, which is essentially stolen valor. He claimed to have been places that he hadn't been, claimed some other things that weren't true, claimed to be friends with Pat Tillman and all this other shit that turned out not to be true. And so that was before I even got into the cannabis thing. And I was faced with the decision on whether or not I would just kind of sit back and allow what was being done to continue on. Mainly, they just wanted to sweep it under the rug. Nobody talk about it. Nobody acknowledge it. Let's get him out of here. He was still in a leadership position. He was still collecting finances and shit for the club, for the center, giving interviews, giving people tours, acting as a mentor to veterans, while all the time stealing their stories and portraying it as his. And I found that absolutely disgraceful. And so I gave the powers that be a week to take care of it, to get him out of the position that he was in, and to come clean with what it is that they had known when they knew it, basic shit. And they didn't want to do it. They didn't want to do it. So I came through with my word, and I let everybody know who I thought needed to know at that time what had just happened, including an investigative journalist friend of mine who looked into the matter and followed through a couple months later in September of that year. So this was about May of 2013, September of 2013. I'm graduating from this Flinn-Brown fellowship. Now I'm hooked into Dr. Sisley. So I got this fight that's going on before I even meet Dr. Sisley on campus, right? Internally with the VETS program and with various administrators and stuff like that, who do not want this to blow up because the VETS program is a cash cow for them. It's been very lucrative for many individuals, administrators, veterans, etc. Right? They don't want to fuck it up. And so September, this news story by Hannah Gaber comes out, basically saying this is who this individual is in this position. This is what he stated. This is the truth. This is his military, blah, blah, blah. And immediately, the powers that be on campus started circulating emails, bringing up my cannabis use, talking about how irresponsible this was, yada, yada. I had barely, within 5 months, started working the Veterans Alumni Club for the University of Arizona, and the powers that be boycotted it. They said, as long as this individual is a part or affiliated with this group on campus, we will have nothing to do with it. We won't support it. We won't let people know about any of the events coming up. We won't provide volunteers, nothing. Make it happen on your own, right? That even included the USS Arizona Memorial Ceremony for the 74th in 2015. They refused to provide volunteers for it. Got that petty. And so when Dr. Sisley and I started working together, it was too much of a target, too easy for these people to use that. And then you throw in the controversial nature of what it is she was trying to do, which had been basically supported by everybody on campus, all the flag wavers, all the people that always support the troops, all the people I had been working with to try to raise awareness around the suicide epidemic, to try to get programming in place to address the issue, not just fucking lip service, right? All of a sudden, in the spring of 2014, when Dr. Sisley got approval from the Health and Human Services Department of the federal level, all these false patriots, all these flag wavers couldn't get away from this nuclear football fast enough. Even though they had been playing with it, they had been passing it to one another leading up to that point, because they thought there would be never any fucking notion from the feds that they would approve this study where veterans would smoke cannabis on campus to provide results for this very real, very timely issue, right? And so she got fired. They said that they weren't going to renew her contract or whatever, but she got fucking fired. Skip Garcia from the medical school called down because he got pressured by Andy Biggs, who's now in Congress and a member of the Freedom Caucus, the jack off. He called down and said, kill it. Kill it, get rid of her, kill it. Kill this study, it's not gonna happen. And Senator Yee accommodated. She sat on a bill that could have provided funding for Dr. Sisley's research, right? That whole thing got me accused of bribing a state senator, right? Along with a lot of other things that I had to deal with, trying to fight with Dr. Sisley and support her and get her job back, get this research up and going. We ended up getting funding. I said, MAPS, Dr. Sisley received funding from the state of Colorado, right? And was able to start Scottsdale Research Institute to finish her study. But we went to the Board of Regents to try to get another school, ASU, NAU, to pick it up, and they wouldn't, they refused. Michael Crow thanked me for my service when Sean Kieran and I went to Flagstaff and pleaded the veterans' case, told the Board of Regents to their face, Ron Strootman, all of them, how important this study was. Veterans are killing ourselves. We're dying. These pills are killing us. They smiled. They thanked me for my time. Michael Crow actually called me back to the podium and said, thank you for your service. That bum. They're all bums. You add up the amount of veterans that we've lost since they fired Dr. Sisley and killed that study. In my opinion, that's the blood that's on each and every academic's hands at the University of Arizona, at the Arizona State University, at Northern Arizona State University, at the Board of Regents, at the Arizona Senate and House, and even at the fucking governor's office. All of them have blood on their hands. All our business leaders in the state have blood on their hands. All these so-called nonprofits that work on this issue have blood on their hands. And it's time for them to do something about it other than flap their fucking gums asking for money for their next appointment or project, pet project, while still claiming that they support the troops. And then we have Arizona with this bullshit recount. Trying to, you know,
Rico.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I could talk all day. Shut me up, ask questions. Let's go from there. But
No, to the contrary, we want you to talk all day. It's very, very informative. I mean, Michael is just, you know, chatting with me and he's saying, boy, this is something that Rico's telling everybody that they don't understand, that is under the curtain, if you will. And this is what guys like Rico have had to put up with and overcome over the years. But just take a breath and let me tell you a story about the University of Arizona. You were there then. But Patients at a Time, which I co-founded, decided to have a conference near Tucson at a hotel, a nice place, located and co-sponsored by the University of Arizona's medical school, their nursing school, and Dr. Andy Weil's integrative medicine department that's part of the medical school. And Dr. Weil's an old friend of mine, and he couldn't wait to do it. The nurses were on board big time. The director of the medical school volunteered himself to be on our board for the meeting, and all went well. Until one day I got an email from the lead attorney, a female that was the head attorney for the entire University of Arizona system. And she wrote me this very quick email that said, Mr. Byrne, your conference has been canceled. We're not going to allow anything about cannabis on this campus. And we're not going to have anybody sponsor this, of course. and I'm going on vacation. I won't be back for a couple of weeks. Have a nice life. Well, you know, it didn't play good with me. And so I called up Dr. Weil. I called up the other doctor. I called up the head nurse, the dean, and we all discussed the email. They were all furious. I thought I was pissed off. They were furious. So we waited for this lady to come back. And then Dr. Weil had a private conversation with her. I don't know what happened, but I do know, but when he walked out of the office, we had two things that we had learned from Dr. Weil. First of all, the reason, this is curious, Rico, think about this. The reason this woman had pulled this stunt was that she had been called by the White House, drug people, the drug czar guys, and told that if she allowed this conference to happen under the University of Arizona's umbrella, that the federal government would withdraw every federal dollar from the entire University of Arizona system. I mean, wow, that's a lie, huh? Can you? And then this friggin' woman believed him. Hey, you know, you go to law school doesn't mean you're smart. So anyway, the whole thing went down, and of course we had the conference, and it was actually reasonably successful from an academic point of view. But I guess the point I'm backing up Rico here, if you don't get it. I'm talking about 2012. He's talking just a couple of years later. We have just had this ridiculous assault on us, on academia, on free speech. This is an accredited conference, by the way. Don't get me wrong. This isn't something we just get together and smoke pot. These were scientists from all over the world coming together at the University of Arizona to talk about the science that they had published, had peer reviewed, and was absolutely essential to the knowledge base that we were building. This is no small deal. And as far as the money thing goes, if the woman had any goddamn common sense at all, we've been working for the past 6 years with the University of California, San Francisco School of Medicine. Well, they get federal dollars and they never lost a nickel. So the whole thing was preposterous. It was part of the US government's lying. I mean, the duplicity about the war on drugs has just been a marvel. It's like, wow. I mean, Hitler said something about it, tell a bigger lie, they'll believe it better or something. And these guys are, I can tell you other stories about the White House, but that's not where we're at. But anyway, Rico, there you go. You were you were around then, and you knew what was going on. And now I left you behind thinking, boy, we gave you a platform to work on. And basically what they did was just said, we don't care, I guess.
I want to say one other thing, Al. You know, Ricardo, most activists out there had to learn from Dr. Sisley, basically. She was the one who really educated the movement about the fact that we couldn't actually get studies done. I mean, we're looking at a mountain of studies that have been done around the world. So number one, you have to know that the DEA was only allowing USA studies to be accepted. So we had to come up with USA studies. And to do a USA study, you need a US university. And here you have the White House literally calling them on the phone. I mean, that level of interaction to stop studies from happening, to stop progress from actually happening. Like I said, most activists would never see that little peek behind the curtain, you know, of this thing, and actually understand why it is that research isn't being done. You know, the real mechanics of this drug war. I think you actually got to see the gears.
Yeah, the other thing about that White House deal is that
motherfucker. He's a yellowish kind of fucking short, shriveled, bitter motherfucker. And it's emanating, oozing from the pores of individuals it's infected. It lures people with promise of financial stability and upward gains, climbing that ladder. You'll get this. Every single one of those individuals that was involved with fucking Dr. Sisley over and giving the shaft to the veterans, not just at the University of Arizona, but nationally across the world, They all got promotions. You look at the lawyer for Senator Yee, who put that bullshit out that I had committed bribery on a state senator. He got appointed by the governor to be the governor's personal fucking, I don't know, consigliere or some shit. I don't know, man. But Senator Yee is now looking for a run at the governorship. I hope that motherfucker runs. I'll shit on her every chance I get. There's not going to be anybody that's going to be able to say anything nice about that fucking woman around me within earshot. Or if I see that shit on the internet, I'm going to immediately pounce on that. She is not a good person. She is a fucked off individual who doesn't care about anything other than her political fucking agenda. And that's it. She does not give a fuck about anything else. And I know that for a fact. All right. And when you say that the White House called to put pressure directly on these people, I don't fucking, yeah, absolutely they did. Why? Again, look at the work that we were doing on campus. When I got there on campus in 2009, November of 2009, my first day there on the Marine Corps birthday, Gabby Giffords was given a speech. There was a whole thing there about for the Marine Corps birthday. They had cake, they had whatever the fuck, all the important people from town, from whatever, from the state, they were all there to celebrate the work that had been done in this vet center. It was before I got there. They started out in a little closet. Essentially a closet, considering what office space looks like on campus for groups, right? And then they were able to get, because they provided data on how many veterans were using the space, how many unique visitations they were getting, right? How many consistent visitations they were getting, right? When the peak times were, right? They were able to show that we required more space, more resources, more services that we could provide for our veterans making the transition from military into academia, right? And based off of that, they put themselves up in the student union with a much better space, and our numbers increased. So they were there celebrating that. And then in the spring or fall of 2010, the University of Arizona was recognized as the chapter of the year nationally. And we were presented with an award at Georgetown University by the Student Veterans of America Leadership, right? For the work that we had been doing on campus. We were a fucking steamroller. We were doing things that many other people around the country were not doing. And so when you start to think about this strategically, Mr. Crowitz, it's not that they're not allowing research. It's that they're being real picky about what they'll allow to go through and with what these researchers are able to use. Ideally, it's synthetic form, right? But if they have to use the flower, it's shit weed. So that they're already tainting the results. But I digress. That's a different subject. But when you start to talk about veterans being studied using smoked cannabis, veterans being studied using smoked cannabis at a leading level 1 research institute at the University of Arizona, where they have one of the leading programs for veterans. So if it hits here, and if we start to get veterans on board here talking, like I was the veteran that came out, I was like, yeah, I use this. It's fucking fuck me, right? Like it's working. I'll share my story. Target on my face, target on my back, get them, right? But I know for a fact, there's people going through right now ready to defend their doctorate, to go through their doctorate, that I used to see bring mason jars full of cannabis on campus at the vet center during working times. I used to go with other individuals who fucking are in their master's degrees, who have fucking legitimate gigs. They pushed me out because I couldn't move on. I was having difficulty moving on. But there's individuals who took my place who I fought for because they got fucked with by association to me. And I had to go and defend them and say, fuck you, bring it to me. You got beef with me, fuck me up. I'm already getting it, bring it the fuck on. Because I got a pension from the government. I don't need your fucking job. I don't need your praise. I don't need your support. I'd like it because of what you say, how important I am, how much a fucking asset I am to the community, how much all this good shit I'm fucking doing. Put your money where your mouth is, motherfucker. Give me a job. But that's not what you're about. Right. And so I had to go and fight for motherfuckers that are on campus now who, as soon as they got on campus, apparently they got an ultimatum or was able to just read the writing on the wall and said, fucking don't talk to me, bro. And they've been on campus for years. And I know for a fact that they smoke weed because I used to smoke with them. But all these people, after seeing what was done to me, seeing what was done to Doc Sisley, how permanent that shit is, who has an incentive to come out? And when the government can steamroll you like that, they use the same bullshit, pathetic arguments that they used back then with you, federal dollars. But we see that other institutions are able to fucking study this shit just fine. That's an excuse. It's an abhorrent excuse, right? It's an excuse that comes with fucking toe tags attached to it. A whole fucking string of toe tags. People that have been lost to the opioid epidemic, people that have been lost to suicide, people that have been lost to alcoholism, people that have been lost just to fucking getting lost in this pill mill of SSRIs and other bullshit that has them eventually fucking going mad, getting locked up in a sanitarium type environment, right? Or fucking homeless, disenfranchised, the permanent other, right? And meanwhile, what? We're supposed to support what? Celebrate what? What are we celebrating? Fucking Grassley running for re-election at 88? Fuck out of here. Mitch McConnell fucking like allowing fucking hemp bill to fucking go for fuck out of here with that farm bill bullshit. We're supposed to celebrate 0.3 fucking THC caps on hemp. We're supposed to support fucking further fucking stigmatization of people that either can't or won't fucking bend the knee to the government. Fucking medical patients and true entrepreneurs, street capitalists. We're in a fucked off position. And I guarantee the Mr. Wizard that I fucking found here at the University of Arizona, that fucking gremlin, that piece of shit motherfucker isn't anything compared to the rat fink cocksucking motherfuckers in DC. Excuse my language on that last part, but they are. Each and every one of them got a dirty mouth. They speak out of both sides of it too. I'm gonna shut up.
Are you done now?
I'm sorry, yes.
Hey, listen, I got a technical question that means nothing. Is there a ROTC program at the University of Arizona, any of them?
Yeah, we have NROTC, ROTC, the Air Force, TC, whatever that shit is. Yeah.
Air Force.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Just curious. Well, listen, let me go back in time here with this interview. You kind of skipped over it, but I think it's important, so I want to know. When you were first discovering cannabis, I don't know, I don't want to make any assumptions, but it sounded like you use cannabis recreationally. All right. It sounds like you used cannabis recreationally at some point, and then you switched over to a therapeutic use. Could you go through that a little bit for the other vets, how that went down?
Yeah, I mean, my first experience with cannabis was when I was like 8 or so, farting around. I stole a family member, some weed from a family member's stash, and actually rolled it in Bible paper. And when I lit it, that shit went and fucking like, it's just was like bad omen. And so I was like, man, like, wow, what the fuck? But like my first time like really smoking weed, like, oh shit, I just smoked weed, was at 11. And it was like, it was a part of some kind of fucked off initiation kind of shit that I'm not gonna go into. But it wasn't a pleasant experience. It was the first time really feeling like that. I wasn't sure what to make of it. And it left me in a real kind of like nervous state, paranoid, kind of like a feeling of dread. I don't know. And that feeling, whenever I like growing up, I smoked, like that was my first time. And then I smoked from then on until I was about, I don't know, 18 or so, shortly before I joined, or I went looking to join the military. I had began to distance myself from the lifestyle that I was living. And but early on, like every time I smoked, especially when I was around certain people or in certain environments, it was just immediately like, oh fuck. And I would be the one that I'd be there in the smoking circle, and then you would go about your conversation, look around, and then I would be gone. Because I got that feeling, and I was just kind of super hypersensitive and shit. But then as I turned like 15, 16, like I was a legitimate smoker at that point. Like I knew the feelings, I knew what the fuck, you know, this and that, blah, blah, and had moved on to like hash and bong rips and whatever. I wouldn't have called it this at the time, but I was self-medicating for sure. You know, you grow up around the kind of shit that I grew up around. It wears on you, right? And there's a couple things that people use to soothe themselves out of that. Either they try to fuck their way out of it. Sexual promiscuity is real heavy in the area where, you know, you ain't got much to do. It makes you feel good, might as well do it. And as a result, like a lot of my brothers and stuff, my sisters, they got a lot of kids. I'm uncle many times over, but the other one is like drinking, it's heavy drinking, trying to numb it out. Makes you feel good for a little bit, and it usually always leads to some type of conflict, strife, or whatever, beef. And then it's like the stoner crew was just like chill. So that really ended up like the stoner crew, the tagging crew. Those were my peeps, generally speaking. Just chill out, listen to music, do some art. I was into some other shit, but I'm not gonna go into it, right? It wasn't just art and music, but there's a reason why at 18 or so I decided to fucking start to distance myself. There's people dying around me. There's people fucking getting incarcerated for some serious time and shit. And going back to the writing on the wall, it's just like, nah, fuck. So when 9/11 happened, it was like, oh, well, man, fuck. You know, I got this, not doing anything other than heading to a couple of different certain endpoints here. This is an option now, right? I wasn't really thinking about it before. I was a dropout. Fucking that had passed for me, I thought. And if we were never attacked, I would probably had gone on working construction, blue collar jobs, whatever the fuck, right? But when that happened, it motivated me. And I had already made the decision sometime before to fuck, and it's done. I don't know what I'm gonna do or how I'm gonna do it, but I'm not living that fucking life anymore. I can't. And so that just solidified it for me, 9/11. And when I went into the Army, again, as an MP, I wasn't tempted because I'd literally done all the shit before. Like I'm good. I know that I don't want that. Aside from the booze, because the booze was acceptable in that environment. And I could drink with the best of them, but the cannabis stuff, whatever, it wasn't. So when I got out, I was married, and I was going through all this shit with the medical appointments, and my attitude, my behavior was like hot, cold, fucking in the middle. Angry, violent, rage-filled outbursts, running people off the highway, fucking pulling guns on motherfuckers, getting in bar fights, all kinds of stuff that's not conducive to family life, you know what I mean? Or any type of healthy, productive existence. And so my wife left, went through a lengthy divorce process. It's not fun. Spent an additional amount of time on probation and went through the whole VA fucking bullshit of the medication gauntlet. And a couple times during that, I had gone back like, man, I know what cannabis feels like. I know what this shit's like. This stuff over here is just a whole bag of what the fuck. This, like, man, my dick's in the dirt. I was impotent. The Paxil, like I couldn't make love to my wife. The grogginess, the haze, sleepwalking with Ambien, not like having full-on conversations with people, not knowing what the fuck, and then waking up and then having them tell me about shit that I was like, whatever the fuck, on the pills. And so I had tried to go and get some weed a couple different times. The wife didn't like that. Her family didn't like that. Now he's going into drugs. This guy's falling off the cliff fast, and he's taking our daughter with him. Let's get her the fuck back home. Restraining orders type shit. And so I went with the pill route a little bit longer, as long as I could, and mixing the pills with the booze. I almost forgot how to breathe a couple times. And finally, it was just like, man, fuck this. No. When I got my honorable discharge, that's when I was like, ceasefire on bullshit, cut and sling load with your assistants, because it's not helping me. It's literally putting my dick in the dirt. So what I'm going to do now is smoke weed and trying to unfuck my head with therapy. And I went smoking pot and going into therapy sessions full time. That was my job. My full-time job was that. And so when I got onto campus, my other drug turned out to be volunteerism, helping people help me. And especially when I could help people avoid some of the obstacles or brick walls that I had faced. And the fact that I used cannabis, again, was irrelevant to the work that I was doing on campus. You didn't know that I smoked weed until you went to my home. And if you went to my home, it was because you were invited. And if you got to my home and you had problems with how my house smelled or what I was doing in lieu of alcohol consumption, the first words you would hear out of my mouth, go fuck yourself. The second one, get out of my home. Don't let it hit you where the good Lord splits you. Motherfucker, I'm not here for your approval. I didn't ask you, right? And so that's why when it became an issue, when people were all of a sudden looking into my medicine cabinet, it's like, the ball's on you. Because I know what you do to fucking medicate yourself. I know how quickly you rush out of the office to get to happy hour, you fucking lush. I know about the pills you pop in the morning just to get the fuck to school. Yet alone the shit you have to go and during your lunch break and get that fucking 1 or 2 beers in you to hold you off until you fucking hypocrites. Hypocrites sitting and judging other people for doing something that fucking works for them, and your bitter ass can't fucking stand it because why are you so bitter then? Right? And then you fall on, oh, well, it's not legal. Well, you're a dick. How about that? Fuck your law. Fuck your law.
Hey, no wonder you get in bar fights. Hey, listen, I got a question.
If you come around to me back then and you say you got a chip on your fucking shoulder, I'd knock it off my damn self just to fucking test you to make sure it was fucking real. And then I'd fucking look at you with a knowing grin that we were going to have a really good fucking time that night. And then we'd go out and fucking commence to finding it. And I was really good at finding it. You're not going to get away from me if I'm fucking picking you to fucking fight with, motherfucker. Let's go. Especially if you fucking come at me some kind of way and you pick the fight and I'm just trying to fucking figure out where I'm at. Hey, sometimes it finds you. And this fight found me.
Sometimes it's so. So when you use cannabis, are those kinds of anxieties and being aggressive, does that calm down?
You can see me right now, Al. I've been smoking all morning.
Another question.
It helps. No, I want to answer the first question before we get to the second question real quick.
All right.
It does. Consistency is hard to maintain because of the various strains. Me being on a fixed income, right? And then individual strains, the cultivars that you find that work that are no longer there from one day to the next. And so it's like, God damn, I'm in a perpetual fucking experimentation cycle. And sometimes are better than others, but other times where it's like, yo, this is not what I need. This is not helping. As a matter of fact, I feel like putting a baseball bat through some motherfucker's forehead right now. And I smoke my entire fucking bag of weed. So how does that work? So there's other things that I have to implement or I'll fucking go crazy. I will lose my goddamn shit. And every now and then I lose that. And it feeds the shame that I harbor. It feeds the guilt that I harbor for driving loved ones away. And it makes it difficult to see the horizon on those days. And I'm not very far removed from one of those days, so I might get emotional again, but
so basically you're telling me
it's super important on those days to fucking have my puppies, right? To have my art, to have my garden, and to have friends, because on those days, the cannabis doesn't help.
So is it a question then of quality cannabis or the dose or both?
All, yeah, quality, dose, consistency, and being available to me. And then again,
what's it cost out there? If I wanted to go in and buy a half an ounce of a quality therapeutic bud, what would it cost me around in Arizona? What would that cost?
I haven't been able to buy a half an ounce in years, so I can't tell you. I can go in there and look at the prices, but I don't know. I go by gram or by eighth because that's what I can afford. And some
what's an eighth?
I get the eighth that's about $60 for the top shelf. That I get that shit and I'm copacetic. I'm working on my shit. I'm fucking calm. I'm not getting bogged down in the fucking rat race, getting spun out. But on days, it's like, fuck, all I can afford is the quarter ounce of the bottom shelf shit, because it's the same as the fucking eighth of the top shelf shit, but I need this to last longer. And then I get the fucking quarter ounce home and the shit doesn't even stay fucking lit. And it's just like, it's not the profile that I need. And so then it's like, okay, well, the other tools need to fucking kick into high gear now. It's time for me to implement the other shit that I've learned. The breathing, the yoga, the talking to motherfuckers, the housework, getting my routine in order until I have enough resources to get what it is that I need, right? And after living this way for fucking many years now, it's just become like, God damn it, man, what am I gonna dodge this month? What credit card bill am I not going to pay? Because fuck the bank first. I'm not trying to fucking pay the bank anything until I'm fed, for sure, right? Outside of my mortgage, right? There's an order of precedent in my home. And if I can't afford my groceries and my medicine to last out the month, motherfucker, I ain't paying a bank. Their credit card bills, that's probably going to get me in some kind of fucking whatever. But at this point in my life and where I'm at, with everything else and whatever else is going on in the world with this pandemic, and that's the last fucking thing in my mind right now. So I hope that the VA pulls their fucking head out of their ass sooner rather than later. And these bullshit politicians and these dumbass organizations that just want your money and aren't doing shit productive for the community, I hope these motherfuckers get their shit together and start to realize how serious this situation is. It's not going away. They needed to act on this shit yesterday. All right. I'm in a fortunate position. I get a full pension and I'm struggling like this. I can't imagine an individual who has a bad paper discharge. I pray for those people. And it's those people, when they come in mind, that has me grateful. Hey, you're not that bad. Like, suck it up. Fucking deal with the whatever. Fucking go do your yoga, your breathing, but shut the fuck up. You have a roof over your head. You do have food in your belly. You can pay your utilities. There's people out there that are legit suffering. They can't afford the fucking home, yet alone the food, yet alone the clothes, yet alone the fucking whatever the shit. We're in a tight spot. And we have all these people pontificating, talking down on their brothers and sisters. Fucking whenever anything about fucking building up anything here in the United States is mentioned for our fucking fellow citizens, you would think that fucking somebody is directly going and robbing people the way they come out and shit on it. Ah, socialism, fucking commie. Like, I'm sorry. Do you not like American citizens? Do you not fucking like your neighbor? Because you're pretty fucking quick to spend $1 billion goddamn dollars on an iron fucking dome in Israel. But you won't do shit about the problems that we're bringing to you without fucking throwing commie in our face, socialist, this, that, and the other. So we got to figure out what the fuck we're about in this country. What our fucking constitution means other than toilet paper, right? We need to get rid of that fucking slavery language in the 13th fucking amendment that makes slaves out of our citizens still, that disenfranchises people, that you fucking, it's horrendous. And then we have the balls to go and point fingers at other countries talking about how they treat their people. Fuck out of here with that. All these warmongers, all these motherfuckers beating on their fucking drums and stuff like that. You shut the fuck up. It's getting annoying. It's been annoying. This shit's fucked off. And these people are feeding into it.
Yeah, it's annoying. All right. Listen, I want to get to my question. When you went to the VA, when you made the decision to get off pharmaceuticals and whatever and use cannabis and go to counseling, I'm just curious about how the counselor reacted to your cannabis use. Was it a positive, a neutral, or a negative?
It wasn't discussed. It was barely legal for medical use. It wasn't legal for medical use in the state of Arizona when I started using it. It was still very much a felony.
So you didn't.
Fuck no.
You didn't tell it.
No, I stayed and talked. By that time, it was just, how you feeling today? The what's in your medicine cabinet discussion had long since passed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was more of like, you know, what are you doing? How are you feeling? Where you at? And like I said, in that point in time, when I went back before I got to the University of Arizona, it was off of some, man, I'm feeling pretty fucking suicidal at the moment. And getting to campus and then finding that tribe, finding that sense of belonging again, sense of purpose. All of a sudden people care if I don't show up. If I don't show up, something's not right. Fucking, it meant something, man. And it, again, like there was a circle of people who had found out for themselves that cannabis worked for them, and it was nobody's fucking business. And the only reason we found out is because of the stoner nose. And you smell out your own. That's how the culture has been maintained for time immemorial, since Prohibition began. You look at somebody's lighter and you see the shit where they tap their bowl out before fucking class or whatever the fuck, or move the shit around. You look at their fucking fingertips, whatever the fuck. Somebody asks you, you smoke, and you smoke what? You know what I mean? There's little things where it's like, haha, we're gonna fucking be friends. You know what I mean? And then you get together offline. You form this bond over cannabis, and because of the nature of it, is really fucking no reason to include anybody outside of that circle that's formed, because of the consequences and repercussions. And when you're going for grants, when you're going for scholarships, when you're going for competitive fields, and you're trying to get placement, and you're trying to stand out in your crowd, the last fucking thing that any sane individual would want in that environment was to have this stigma, this fucking cloud over them, right? So it wasn't discussed. And then when it was discussed, I already told you guys how that came out. It was used against me. It was used against me, even though I, for 3 years, had been an integral part of the team, of the leadership component on campus, making really awesome shit happen. It is documented. I'm in newspapers, I'm in all kinds of shit. My name's even in a bronze plaque in the Student Union Memorial. You can go and find it. It's down in the rotunda. I've done my shit on cannabis, right? But the thing that fucking made it so that it was whatever was the fact that I didn't sit back while this guy did that to the Pat Tillman Foundation, sat across from Pat Tillman's wife and told her these falsehoods and sat there knowing all this shit with other people. I was not gonna let that go. I wasn't gonna let that go. And so when that popped out,
well,
it became, now I'm associated with Dr. Sisley, who's involved in this cannabis research. And then I got blackballed from campus because it was one bridge too far for them. And now I'm just a druggie, right? And then from there, I worked with Nurse Heather Manis and the Arizona Cannabis Nurses Association. We got post-traumatic stress added as a qualifying condition in the state of Arizona. I think that happened, Michael, in 14, or early 15, late 14, something like that. But all of that we've accomplished. Nurse Heather and I, Doc Sisley and I, without support from the leadership, quote unquote, on campus, without support from the leadership in our political halls, from the governor's office. Dr. Sisley made it happen despite that shit, despite the obstacles, through Scottsdale Research Institute.
Well,
and here we are with the Veterans Act, making it happen with the VA.
Unfortunately, Rico, look, what you're describing, lack of support, lack of leadership at some kind of level that would be helpful, money, anything that you would consider a positive backup to what you were trying to do, on almost in all my time doing this, I cannot think of any group that actively helped anybody try to do any of that stuff. There were various legalization, reform groups, et cetera, Each one had their own agenda. Each one carried their own money, and they kept it. They kept it tight and close. And other than steal other people's work, they really didn't cooperate very much. This is also true of individuals. There are individuals that I saw put in millions of dollars into this situation, and nobody even knows their names except guys like me. And they were, all of these people, including you, including Michael and myself, we've all been called names the whole time. We're potheads and people of disrepute because we deal with the black market, and we're probably sex fiends, and also we hurt little babies. It's this preposterous bullshit myth that has gone on for years. They turn, instead of arguing about the science that I was presenting at an accredited conference, they wanted to just let everybody know that I probably smoke pot in the morning, and it's like, I just tell them I do smoke pot in the morning. If I don't smoke pot in the morning, I can't function. But hey, I got this national conference going on and you're at it, so I must be doing something right. You're paying attention to me. Why? Because it's such a negative? But you just got to let that shit roll. It's hard. It's hard that your accomplishments, not just you, but I mean, I'm talking hundreds of people here, are not well received or well known. But we know, Michael and I know, the guys in the VAC, every one of them know. There's people all over Arizona know. So what you need, I would recommend to you, I have a saying that I have used for myself for years, and I'll give it to you. When you hear something positive or negative about you or your work, here's my 3 words. Consider the source. Okay? So you're talking about some asshole somewhere in Arizona that doesn't like you and says you're a bad person. Okay, there's a source. On the other hand, I think you're wonderful. Depends who you want to pay attention to, that's all. So, you're here on this show with Michael and I because you are an outstanding veteran, because you're an outstanding human being. Not only that, you like dogs. So you got everything, and we're glad to have had you here. I know you're upset right now, but I'd urge you not to look. You vented good. You said good things. Everything was cool. Calm down. You've done a really good job. You're gonna go on, and you're gonna help us and the guys in the VAC forever until we get it, whatever the mission is, accomplished. We're all here together. We all love you. We know who you are. Forget about the bozos. They don't count. They really don't count. And thanks for being our guest. Michael, are you still with us? You're the host, Michael.
Yeah, I'm dealing with kind of an emergency here, but I'll talk while I do it.
I'm sorry. See my boob.
I get it.
Got it.
Yeah, it's one of these things where we had questions that we were asked in I guess it was basic philosophy 101, and they said, which would you rather be? Would you rather be the guy that's in prison and knows that they did the right thing, and the whole world thinks they're a criminal, and, they're in prison, or would you rather be the person that's out there free, that is getting exalted by everyone, riches beyond measure, but in their soul knows that they did the wrong thing and can never share it with the soul, because that'll break the ivory tower that they're sitting on? And that's it. I think that's the philosophical question you're dealing with, my friend. And it's not a new one. It's not an easy one, but it's nonetheless the age-old question. And I thank you for coming on. I thank you for sharing, and I thank you for your work. It's meaningful. You gotta find your path. I can't find it for you. Nobody can find it for you, but you're not far from it, in my view.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on and for your kind words. The sad fact of the matter is that the ups and downs are just part of the life. And in this chosen field that we have before us, that we've engaged in voluntarily, it's full of frustrations, and it aggravates, it compounds a lot of the personal stuff going on. And I'm really grateful for the Veterans Action Council. And I am proud of the work that we've done in such a short amount of time. We've brought together our shared experiences. We've brought together our shared knowledge and purpose and drive. And we've really been able to make a solid statement heading into the sausage making process. And knowing that there's a meeting coming up, knowing that there's another opportunity to jump back in the fight and punch back. I got my bell rung this weekend, and it happens, right? But I'm still in the fight. We're all still here. And yeah, man, that's where it's at. I'm looking forward to fighting with you guys until we get this knocked out of the park. It's coming. It's coming. It can't help. The truth is the truth. That's what it is. The truth is the truth. It's going to be the truth, no matter what you try to do to put it out, to hide it, to kill it, to kill the people that are trying to deliver it, to lock up and silence the people that are delivering it. It's the truth. The sooner you acknowledge the truth, the better it will be.
Rico, take care. Take care. We're here. Michael and a whole bunch of other people were right here for you. Again, nobody can say just snap out of it. I don't know. Everybody looks at everything the way they look at it, like Michael's trying to give you with his metaphor. I look at the work you're doing, you continue to do. I know what's going to happen in the future. You're going to do something cool, and we're going to be there with you. And I just want you to think more about the opinion of your fellow vets than the rest of these bozos. Okay, you do that, you'll be fine, because we think you're wonderful, all of us, and you are, and your dog loves you. I said that before, so you got it made. Take care, Rico.
So everybody, this has been Veterans Voices number 9. You've been our guest here on Sunday morning, afternoon with Veterans for Medical Cannabis Access, myself, Michael Crowitz, and Al Byrne, and our special guest, Ricardo Pereyda. Thanks so much for joining us. And we're going to go ahead and pull ourselves out of Facebook and stop the recording, and see you all next time.